It was a twisted tale of sex, drugs, and a serial killer on the run that ultimately ended in the death of a fashion icon. How did Versace's assassin get away with his murder, and what drove him to do it in the first place? This is an American crime story centered around the brutal murder of renowned designer Gianni Versace. The Italian fashion visionary was shot and killed on the front steps of his Miami Beach mansion by 27-year-old serial killer Andrew Cunanan on July 15, 1997. If you are excited to see how love can turn to poison and lead to murder, keep watching. Welcome back to True Stories. As always, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe and join our family. Now, let's get into the twisted murder of one of the most iconic men in fashion. 20 years ago, South Beach, Florida was not a place that catered to early risers. It was a beach cavorting, nightclub dancing, hedonistic scene ruled by a fashion crowd of models, musicians, actors, and bohemians. But within this indolent world there were driven, ambitious people, and none more so than the unofficial mayor of South Beach himself, designer Gianni Versace. It was a hub for the rich and famous, and no one could anticipate the horrific events that would come to follow in the peaceful area. Born in National City, California on August 31, 1969 to Modesto Cunanan, an AV veteran turned stockbroker, and Mary Ann Shalassi, Andrew Philip Cunanan was the youngest of 4 children. Cunanan had an IQ of 147, making him incredibly bright for his age. Cunanan attended the Bishop's School in La Jolla, California, a private school where most of the other students came from families that were wealthier than him. In order to fit in, Cunanan made up stories about his background, which has led many to believe that he showed early signs of antisocial personality disorder, previously referred to as psychopathy or sociopathy. Cunanan would even change his appearance throughout school according to what he felt was most attractive at the time. Later in life, Cunanan would claim that his father was an Israeli millionaire and a Fifth Avenue aristocrat. Cunanan was the only one of his siblings to attend a prestigious and expensive private school. "He was my father's pride and joy," his brother Christopher Cunanan told interviewers. "He was very smart. When he was about 10 years old, he had read the whole set of encyclopedias and memorized it. And you could ask him any question. Pick up any edition and ask him any question, and he would tell you," his brother claimed. By the time Cunanan was 19, he had become a frequent nighttime patron at local gay bars and restaurants. During this time, his religious mother found out that he was gay, something other members of his family had known but never acknowledged. It wasn't long after this that Cunanan left home and moved to San Francisco, where he was a more visible part of the gay community. In 1987, Cunanan enrolled in the University of California, San Diego and majored in American history, but he dropped out 2 years later, eventually moving to San Francisco. He became a fixture in the nightlife of the Castro district, a gay neighborhood, befriending wealthy older men to pay for his rent, clothes, club hopping, and travel expenses. He reportedly became addicted to drugs like cocaine and methamphetamine. He also developed an interest in sadomasochistic pornography. Blatchford, one of his wealthy lovers, broke up with Cunanan in 1996. Blatchford owned a sound insulation company specifically for cars in film. The company was so successful that it even won an Oscar for technical achievement. Blatchford and Cunanan met through mutual friends of Cunanan's previous companion, Lincoln Aston. Blatchford's long-term partner had recently died of AIDS when he met Cunanan. Cunanan's timing could not have been better for meeting the then 58-year-old conservative and reserved Phoenix native. Blatchford was reportedly alone and very eligible, and subsequently a perfect match for Cunanan, rich and lonely. However, the relationship was not public knowledge. It was kind of like the secret everyone knew about. Blatchford would claim that Cunanan was his decorator or just a friend helping him pick out art, and Cunanan would tell his friends that Blatchford was an old man or a friend of the family. But those close to Cunanan knew he was living with Blatchford. Surprisingly, Blatchford was aware Cunanan was with him for his money, but he wasn't bothered by. He went so far as to recommend he go back to school. Blatchford gave Cunanan a taste of the high life. He financed Cunanan on an allowance of $2,500 a month, including frequent trips to New York City to see Broadway shows and vacations in Paris and the south of France. However, obviously, the relationship was not built to last. Cunanan told several friends that the relationship ended over Norman's lack of generosity. Then, things went sour for Cunanan. His life began to take a downhill spiral that would lead him to the dark path of murder. He was dumped by his latest sugar daddy. On top of that, he was losing his prowess among his peers. He had gotten sloppy and lost his looks, and his star was fading. Friends said Cunanan's mental health suffered when his lifestyle took a hit. Andrew's self-worth was tied to the finer things in life, what people could do for him. Being accepted in high society and by wealthy people was what he expected. If he didn't get them, he was lost. It was during this period of self-doubt that Cunanan took the life of his first victim. Not long before his first murder, Cunanan told his friends in San Diego that he was flying to Minnesota to settle some business with an old friend, Jeffrey Trail. Jeffrey and Cunanan met in San Diego, where Cunanan was living prior to his killing spree. Trail's family denies any romantic involvement and instead speculates that Cunanan had an odd obsession with Trail. When Jeff got a haircut, Andrew had to have the exact same haircut, one of Trail's sisters, Lisa, reported. But it even got weirder when Jeff went to San Francisco and got a certain style of baseball cap. Andrew had to go to San Francisco and get the very same cap. When Jeff grew a goatee, Andrew grew a goatee. Trail moved from San Diego to Minneapolis for a job as a district manager, and when Cunanan announced his plans to visit, Trail reportedly told his sister that he didn't want Cunanan to come. Trail broke up with Cunanan and soon started dating Navy veteran. Cunanan was terribly hurt by the breakup. Jeffrey Trail was afraid prior to and during his move. Right before his move, Trail had procured a handgun. "I'm gonna be safe, I've got this," he said. Also at this time, Cunanan reportedly believed he had contracted HIV. According to a San Diego AIDS counselor, Cunanan had come by and asked about the virus. He reportedly said to the counselor, "If I find out who did this to me, I'm gonna get them." Maybe this assumption by Cunanan may have been a catalyst to his already collapsing life. Cunanan traveled to Minneapolis in April 1997 and visited Madsen first. The two went out for dinner and drinks, followed by dancing. Cunanan spent the evening at Madsen's and the following evening at Trail's, while Trail was traveling with his new partner. Cunanan invited Trail to Madsen's the next night, and Trail was discovered dead in Madsen's apartment 2 days later. Madsen, his former lover, would soon become his second victim. Andrew loved David Madsen very much, but after the breakup, David didn't want anything to do with him. Madsen's body was found with gunshot wounds to the head and back on the east shore of Rush Lake near Rush City, Minnesota. But this wasn't the end for Cunanan. He had some more debts to settle. He later drove to Chicago and killed 72-year-old Lee Miglanen. No connection was ever found between Cunanan and Miglin, a prominent real estate developer, and officials concluded that it was a crime of opportunity while Miglin was cleaning a garage near his home. After the murder, Cunanan had the audacity to go into the family's home, eat a ham sandwich, shaved and rested. What a creep, it's like it was a normal afternoon for him. He then drove Miglin's car to New Jersey, where he murdered yet another victim, William Reese, a cemetery worker, who appeared to have been shot to death so Cunanan could steal his red Chevrolet pickup truck. Following his fourth murder, Cunanan had become one of America's most wanted fugitives. Though law enforcement and the FBI were on the hunt for him, Cunanan made his way to Miami, eventually taking up residence for nearly 2 months at the Normandy Plaza Hotel, about 4 miles north of Versace's mansion. Here he planned one of his biggest murders yet. The hotel's night manager claimed Cunanan paid in cash and would often change his appearance, possibly even wearing wigs to alter the way he looked. In 1990, Versace and his future killer met at Colossus, a San Francisco nightclub, where Cunanan was pleased to find that Versace recognized him from a party at his house on Lake Como. Whether Cunanan had ever actually been to Lake Como is unknown, but he took the recognition and used it to his advantage in his social circles, dropping Versace's name frequently. On the morning of July 15, 1997, the 50-year-old Italian founder of a glamorous fashion empire was up by 6 a.m. He made calls to Milan, did some more work, then slipped out of his mansion and headed to News Cafe, just 3 blocks from his home. A regular at the buzzy Ocean Drive restaurant, Versace bought a coffee, exchanged greetings with the manager, scooped up issues of Vogue and The New Yorker, and headed back to Casa Casuarina, the opulent palatial villa he'd spent millions acquiring and renovating. He walked up 5 marble steps and slipped his key into the lock on the iron gate. At that precise moment, a dark-haired man wearing knee-length shorts, a gray tank top, a baseball cap, and a backpack surged up the same marble steps. Andrew Cunanan shot Gianni Versace, twice, execution style. Then he turned around and casually walked away. And just like that, an icon was gone. Cunanan was already a wanted man, a suspect in 4 murders in 3 states, and had gone into hiding in Miami. The frantic hunt for Cunanan, the serial killer, dominated the news cycle. On July 23, 1997, less than 2 weeks after Versace was killed, Cunanan was found. However, it's not a way you might expect, rather fact, it's quite an anticlimactic ending. The body of Andrew Cunanan was found in a houseboat off Miami Beach. He'd shot himself in the head with the same gun used to take the lives of 3 of his victims, including Versace. Cunanan's suicide brought an end to the nationwide manhunt, but it marked the beginning of a 2-decade-long search for answers. Why did this young man, who seemingly had it all, go on such a killing rampage? The men who could answer these questions are all gone, but what do you think? Let's discuss what are some of the theories that might explain this out of the blue acts. If you've come this far, make sure to give the video a like and don't forget to subscribe. Till next time.